I jolted awake to pure pandemonium in Fernwood Valley, Idaho. My neighbor's pickup was blaring its horn nonstop, like the end of the world had arrived. Barefoot, still in yesterday's sweatpants, I sprinted outside and froze. The ancient wooden bridge over Pine Creek, the single lifeline connecting our entire hidden valley to the outside world, was shackled in thick steel chains and sealed with a monster padlock. Caution tape whipped wildly in the morning wind. A glaring laminated sign nailed to the railing shouted in bold red letters, "Emergency closure, Fernwood Valley HOA order. Safety violation. 500 daily fine for any unauthorized crossing." My grandfather hammered every plank of that bridge into place back in 1953 so our family could reach the county road after storms washed out the old fort. Without it, we were prisoners. No mail, no school drop-offs, no emergency runs, nothing. And the worst part, gut punched me hardest. My 8-year-old daughter Mia has type 1 diabetes. She needs fresh insulin every few days and face-to-face checkups with her specialist. The nearest hospital sits 20 miles away on the other side of that creek. One missed refill, and things can spiral fast. Before my heart could even restart, Karen Blackwell, the HOA's self-crowned queen, pulled up in her spotless white SUV. Clipboard in one hand, smug smile locked in place, she stepped out flanked by her loyal board minions and the county sheriff. Hands on hips, voice carrying across the gathering crowd, she declared, "This bridge is now classified as common area property. It fails safety standards. We're protecting everyone here." I stood rooted to the gravel, fists balled so tight my nails cut into my palms. This wasn't safety. This wasn't protection. This was a calculated power grab dressed up as concern, and she had just declared open war on my family. If you want to hear more true stories like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button to HOA Gone Wild. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? Let me take you back a bit, so you really feel why this slammed into me like a freight train. My name is Jake Morrison. I'm 45, a grease fender, the nails mechanic who's spent most of his life fixing what other people break. 3 years ago, after my dad lost his long fight with cancer, I packed up my tools and moved back to the 20-acre family spread in Fernwood Valley, Idaho, the same quiet pocket of tall pines and rushing creek water where I grew up running wild. The valley is postcard perfect. About 20 homes tucked among the evergreens, deer wandering through backyards at dusk, air so clean it almost hurts to breathe. But there's only one way in or out. That sturdy wooden bridge my grandfather built single-handed in 1953. He hauled every timber, drove every nail, paid for it all out of pocket, after the old Ford crossing washed away in a flood. The county records have never wavered. It's private property, listed squarely on our deed, always has been. 5 years back, developers carved a new subdivision into the ridge above us. Shiny new houses, bigger lots, people with money and opinions. They formed the Fernwood Valley HOA almost overnight, and Karen Blackwell, a retired real estate agent whose voice could scrape paint off walls, crowned herself president before the ink dried on the covenants. At first the nonsense was small, $50 fines because my shop tools were visible from the road, warnings about the wrong shade of trash can lid. I grumbled, wrote a couple checks, figured it was easier to pay than fight. Then the bridge letters started, polite at first, then colder. They argued that since all residents used the bridge, it had somehow morphed into common area property under HOA control. I actually laughed out loud reading the first one. I scanned Grandpa's original 1953 deed and the matching survey, attached them to a calm reply email, and hit send. Thought that would end it. Karen's response came back like venom in an envelope. The HOA board has thoroughly reviewed your submitted documents and deems them insufficient to override current covenants. Continued resistance will trigger escalating enforcement actions and fines. 2 weeks later, they hit us at dawn. 6 in the morning, sky still gray, and I wake to my phone vibrating off the nightstand. Neighbors texting in panic. I stumbled outside in boots and a hoodie to find the bridge wrapped in heavy chains thicker than my wrist, a industrial padlock gleaming, yellow caution tape fluttering like crime scene ribbons. The laminated sign was already bolted in place. Emergency closure by order of the Fernwood Valley HOA. Safety concerns. 500 daily fine for unauthorized crossing. No warning meeting. No vote notice. No inspection report. Just done. My phone became a war zone. The delivery driver stuck on the county roadside, cursing about perishable loads. A guy named Tom freaking out because he had a boys' job interview he couldn't miss. His first shot at something better in years. A young mom named Sarah sobbing in voice messages because her baby's formula shipment was trapped on the wrong side of the creek. Everyone looking at me like I'd personally nailed the chains up. I dialed Karen right then. Straight to voicemail. I jumped in the truck, tried the back way. There is no back way, and circled back to confront the sheriff when he rolled up with her entourage. He tipped his hat, uncomfortable, and muttered, "It's an HOA matter, Mr. Morrison. Best stay off the bridge till it's sorted." That night, everything got real. Around 10:30, Mia's continuous glucose monitor started its shrill alarm. Low blood sugar warning. We were already scraping the bottom of the insulin vial. Lauren sat on the edge of Maya's bed, eyes wide with that quiet terror only parents know, and whispered, "Jakey, what if we can't get out tomorrow? What if the pharmacy won't deliver?" Mia, only 8, looked so small under the blanket, clutching her stuffed bear. She didn't understand the details, but she felt the fear. I pulled her close while she cried soft little hiccups against my chest and promised, swore on everything, that I would fix this. Inside I was boiling. Rage made my hands shake so bad I could barely type. But screaming at Karen on the phone wouldn't unlock a damn thing. I needed ironclad proof, something she couldn't dodge or dismiss. Next morning, the first fine notice hit my inbox. $500 for Day 1 violation, due in 48 hours or a lion would attach to my property. Karen's email signature even had a little smiley face emoji next to her name, like this was all just friendly neighborhood business. That's when the cold certainty settled in my gut. This wasn't random overreach. This wasn't incompetence. This was personal, targeted, deliberate, and I was done playing nice. Things spiraled downhill so fast it felt like the ground had dropped out from under me. By day 3, the fines had ballooned to $1,500 and kept ticking upward like a taxi meter on steroids. The neighbors who used to stop and chat about the weather now shot me cold stares from their driveways. Someone, still don't know who, crept up in the dark and spray painted SL Fush in dripping red letters across my mailbox. I scrubbed it off at dawn with a wire brush, but the sting stayed. Karen turned the violation notices into a daily ritual. Each email landed like a fresh slap, copied to the entire Valley distribution list so everyone could see. The tone got progressively uglier, from "please comply for the community's benefit" to "continued defiance will result in immediate lien proceedings and referral to collections." She even attached photos of my house with arrows pointing at non-compliant landscaping she'd never mentioned before. It was psychological warfare, plain and simple. The real knife twist came with Mia, her endocrinologist appointment. The one we'd scheduled 3 months in advance fell on day 4. No way to get her there. We propped the laptop on the kitchen table for a frantic video call while the doctor walked us through emergency rationing instructions. "Stretch what you have," he said, voice tight, "but don't go below this level." Lauren held the phone steady While I measured out tiny doses from the last vial, Mia sat cross-legged on the floor, trying to be brave, but her little hands shook when she took the shot. Afterward, Lauren collapsed on the couch and barely slept for the next 2 nights, jumping every time the glucose alarm chirped. I pretended to be the rock, but inside I was crumbling. Every evening after Mia was in bed, I'd walk the creek bank alone, boots crunching on pine needles, staring across at that chained up bridge like it was mocking me. The water rushed underneath, indifferent, while yellow tape fluttered in the breeze. I felt like a caged animal in my own valley, trapped, helpless, watching my family pay the price for some power-hungry stranger's ego. I gave peace one final shot, printed everything Grandpa left behind: the crisp 1953 warranty deed, the hand-drawn survey with his neat signature, and that yellowed handwritten note he'd tucked inside the safe. This bridge shall always remain private family property for the use and benefit of the Morrisons and their heirs. I drove the winding road to Karen's modern glass and stone house on the ridge, heart hammering. She met me on the wide porch in yoga pants and a designer fleece, fake smile plastered on. "Mr. Morrison," she said sweetly, "the board has already voted. The bridge fails multiple safety criteria. We're scheduling a professional inspection. This discussion is over." I held out the stack of papers. "These prove it's never been HOA property. Just look." She actually recoiled, stepping back as if the documents carried plague. "Save it for court," she sneered, then shut the door in my face. The click of the deadbolt echoed louder than any shout. That same afternoon, her next email hit. The daily fine jumped to $750, due to repeat and willful violations. My blood turned to fire. I spent the rest of the day on the phone with every county office that would answer. Planning and zoning swore the bridge had never been transferred or dedicated to public use. The recorder's office pulled the title history on the spot. Still 100% in the Morrison name, no liens, no easements granted. The sheriff's non-emergency line: "Civil matters, sir. File in court." Everyone sympathetic, no one willing to cut the damn chains. The valley fractured right down the middle. A petition started circulating: "Demand Jake Morrison open the bridge for community access." With 20 signatures in 48 hours. Whispers reached me through back channels. Karen was floating ideas about redeveloping the creek area into luxury cabins, maybe even a private toll road for premium residents. It all made 6 sense now. The bridge wasn't unsafe, it was in the way of her vision. I'd never felt so isolated, trapped on my own land, terrified every time Mia's monitor beeped that we might not get her what she needed in time. Sleep was a joke. Rage and fear took turns keeping me awake. Then, on the 4th night, everything flipped. Around 2 in the morning, I lay staring at the ceiling when a memory sparked. 2 years earlier, I'd mounted a trail camera on a pine overlooking the creek to catch elk crossing at night. Never took it down. I hadn't checked the footage in forever. Fingers trembling, I opened the app on my phone, scrolled back to the lockdown morning. Hit play. There she was, crystal clear in the green infrared glow, Karen Blackwell at 3:15 a.m., wearing that obnoxious neon HOA windbreaker, hair in a tight ponytail. Alone. No board. No inspector, no witnesses. Just her, methodically wrapping the heavy chains around the posts, threading them through the railings, then snapping the padlock shut with a satisfied little smile. She even gave the chain a proud tug before walking off camera, headlights flashing as her SUV pulled away. I replayed it 3 times, volume low so I wouldn't wake Lauren. My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my throat. Fury mixed with something sharper, pure, electric joy. I finally had her. Undeniable. On video. Trespassing. Sabotaging. Acting alone in the dead of night. The bully with the clipboard had just handed me the smoking gun. and I was about to pull the trigger. That grainy infrared footage was the match that lit the whole powder keg. I didn't sleep after watching it. I just sat in the dark kitchen replaying those few seconds over and over until the first gray light crept through the pines. At sunrise, I called Ben Carter. He lives 3 houses down, a retired attorney who moved to Fernwood Valley 6 years ago, mostly to fly, fish the creek and escape city courtrooms. We've shared a few cold beers on his deck, but I'd never asked for legal help until now. I walked over with my phone, showed him the clip without saying a word. Ben leaned in, watched it twice, then let out a low whistle. His eyes got that sharp, hungry look lawyers get when they smell blood. Jake, this is absolute gold. She trespassed on private property at 3 in the morning, locked your bridge without any board authorization, no inspection report, no nothing. We're talking criminal trespass, civil false imprisonment of the entire valley, maybe even fraud if she's misrepresenting HOA authority. She handed you the case on a silver platter. We sat at his picnic table with coffee going cold while we mapped it out. Step 1, go nuclear but legal. I drafted a certified letter. Ben helped word it so it sounded calm and professional, not angry. I attached crystal clear stills from the video timestamp 3:15 a.m., plus full copies of the 1953 deed, survey, and Grandpa's note, addressed to every HOA board member by name. The demand was simple: remove the chains and padlock within 24 hours, or I would file suit for trespass, intentional infliction of emotional distress, medical expenses from Mia's disrupted care, lost wages, and punitive damages. Oh, and I'd release the full video to the local news, the county sheriff's office, and every social media group in a 50-mile radius. Certified mail, return receipt requested. Dropped it at the post office before 9. Karen's panic was instant and sloppy. That same evening, she blasted out an emergency board meeting. Notice, less than 2 hours warning. I wasn't invited, but one of the board members, Ellen Ruiz, texted me updates in real time. Karen tried to ram through a retroactive motion declaring the bridge common area by historic usage and ratifying her solo lockdown as an emergency executive action. 2 members, Paulin and a quiet guy named Paul, who'd been on the receiving end of Karen's temper before. Flat Hat voted no. Voices got loud. Ellen said Karen actually slammed her fist on the table and yelled, "This is my neighborhood now?" Meeting ended in chaos. No motion passed. Next morning, miracle of miracles, the fines in my inbox vanished. 0 balance. Then came Karen's email, all syrup and backpedaling. After careful reconsideration, and in the spirit of community harmony, the HOA is pausing all enforcement actions related to the bridge pending further review. We value your input, Mr. Morrison. Too late. Ben and I had already driven to the county courthouse at first light. We filed him small claims court trespass, nuisance, emotional distress, and reimbursement for Maya's extra medical monitoring costs and my missed shop hours. We also asked for an emergency ex parte hearing to order the immediate removal of the obstruction. Judge set it for the following Monday. Karen wasn't finished twisting. Late that afternoon, Sheriff Greg Larson knocked on my door, hat literally in his hands, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Jake, Ms. Blackwell says your video might be doctored. Claims it's deepfake or something. I gotta see the original file myself before I can act." I invited him in, handed over my phone, opened the trail cam app, and let him watch the raw footage start to finish. No edits, no filters, just Karen in her neon jacket, humming faintly while she secured the padlock like she was gift wrapping Christmas. Greg's face went from skeptical to stone, cold serious. He handed the phone back slowly. "I'll be damned," he muttered. "That's her, clear as day. This changes everything." He tipped his hat again. "I'll be in touch." For the first time since those chains went up, Real hope flickered in my chest. But Karen still had one more desperate swing. The very next afternoon, Saturday, sun high, she rolled up to my gate in her SUV, trailed by two bored lackeys in a pickup and a flatbed tow truck rumbling behind them. She hopped out, megaphone in hand like some cartoon dictator, and started shouting across the yard. "The bridge remains closed by HOA order. Any attempt to cross is a violation. We're here to enforce." Mia was at the living room window, face pressed to the glass, eyes wide. Lauren pulled her back gently, but I could see the fear. Something snapped. I stepped outside, phone already in hand, volume cranked to max. I hit play on the video and held it up high so the tinny speaker carried across the gravel. There was Karen's recorded voice, unmistakable. "No one will ever use this bridge again unless I say so." The words hung in the air like smoke. Karen froze mid-sentence, mouth open, eyes bulging, color draining from her face until she looked like bleached paper. The two board members exchanged glances. The tow truck driver killed the engine, leaned out his window, looked from her to me, then back to her. Without a word, he shifted into reverse, backed the flatbed down the road, and disappeared around the bend. Karen stood there another 10 seconds, stunned silent for maybe the first time in her life. Then she spun on her heel, climbed into her SUV, and peeled out, gravel spitting. The lackeys followed without a backward glance. I lowered the phone. My hands were shaking, but not from fear anymore. From adrenaline. From the sweet, burning certainty that the tide had finally turned. Karen had come to intimidate. Instead, she just witnessed her own empire start to crumble. Right in front of my 8-year-old daughter and half the valley watching from their porches. Monday's emergency hearing couldn't come soon enough. With Sheriff Greg Larson quietly shifting to our side, after seeing that damning footage with his own eyes, and Ben Carter hammering out motions like a man possessed, I finally felt the momentum swing. We didn't waste a second. That Friday afternoon, Ben drafted and we served Karen Blackwell and the entire Fernwood Valley HOA board with the formal small claims lawsuit papers. Trespass, private nuisance, intentional infliction of emotional distress, medical expenses tied to Maya's disrupted diabetes care, lost income from my shop, and a request for punitive damages to make sure they felt the sting. Tucked inside was a crystal clear demand letter: remove every chain, padlock, and scrap of caution tape by close of business Monday, or face the full weight of the court. Certified mail, personal service by the county process server, the works. Over that long weekend, the valley turned into a pressure cooker. Ben, bless his sneaky lawyer heart, made sure the trail cam clip, accidentally, leaked into the neighborhood WhatsApp group. He sent it to one sympathetic board member, who forwarded it by mistake. Within an hour, the chat was on fire. People who'd glared at me for days started blowing up my phone with apologies. "Jake, we had no idea she did it alone. She told us it was an official inspection." One older couple, the Harrisons, who live at the far end near the ridge, called me personally. Their voices shook. "Karen came to our door last week," Mr. Harrison said. "Said if we didn't sign her petition to open the bridge, she'd slap us with a $5,000 special assessment for road maintenance we never voted on. We're so sorry we doubted you." The support snowballed. By Sunday evening, half a dozen neighbors had texted offering to testify if it came to that. Someone even started a counter petition: recall Karen Blackwell as HOA president, immediate vote. Signatures poured in, but the weekend wasn't all victories. Maya's doctor called Saturday morning. Her latest finger stick numbers were trending dangerously low, even on rationed insulin. "We need to get her in soon," he warned. "This isn't sustainable." Lauren broke down on the phone with me while I sat on the porch steps. staring across the creek at those stupid chains glinting in the afternoon sun. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "She's so tired, Jake. She's trying to be strong, but I can see it in her eyes." I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles went white. "It ends Monday," I promised her. "I swear to you, it ends Monday." I hung up, wiped my own face, and went back inside to hug Mia extra tight. She smelled like strawberry shampoo and felt so small in my arms. That night I didn't sleep at all. Monday morning, the Fernwood County Courthouse smelled like old coffee and floor wax. The small claims courtroom was standing room only. Neighbors packed the benches, some holding signs that read, "Free the Bridge," and "HOA accountability now." Karen strode in like she still owned the place, crisp navy power suit. Pearl earrings, hair perfect. Flanking her was a slick boy's attorney in a $3,000 suit who looked annoyed to be slumming it in small claims. She didn't even glance my way. Judge Eleanor Hayes, a silver-haired woman in her mid-60s with a reputation for cutting through nonsense like a hot knife, called the case. Ben presented first. The video played on the courtroom projector, Karen's face filling the screen as she locked my bridge at 3:15 a.m. That smug little smile frozen in infrared green. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Karen's lawyer jumped up. "Your Honor, this footage was obtained through illegal surveillance. My client had no expectation of privacy." Judge Hayes raised one hand. "Counsel, your client was on private property at 3 in the morning, without permission, attaching hardware to a structure she did not own. Explain to me how that's not trespass." She leaned forward, eyes locked on Karen. "Ma'am, you're under oath. Tell me why you thought this was acceptable." Karen opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. It was for safety. The bridge is structurally unsound." Her lawyer tried to pivot. "Your Honor, the HOA acted in good faith to protect the community from liability." That's when I stood. Ben nodded. I walked to the bench, hands steady for the first time in days, and placed the originals in front of Judge Hayes, Grandpa's 1953 warranty deed, yellowed but ironclad, the matching survey with his precise handwriting, the handwritten note declaring the bridge forever private family property, and a fresh certified title printout from the county recorder dated that very morning. 0 transfers, 0 easements, 100% Morrison ownership. The judge took her time reading. The courtroom went dead silent except for the rustle of pages. When she looked up, her gaze pinned Karen like a butterfly to a board. "Counsel," she said slowly, "your client is on very, very thin ice. These documents are unambiguous. The bridge is private property. Ms. Blackwell's actions constitute willful trespass and obstruction of access. I'm granting the emergency order. All chains, padlocks, signage, and obstructions are to be removed by noon tomorrow. All HOA imposed fines related to this matter are frozen pending full trial. Mr. Morrison, you'll have your day for damages." Karen's face drained of color. She gripped the table edge so hard her knuckles blanched. Her fancy lawyer whispered furiously in her ear, but she just stared straight ahead, like she'd seen a ghost walk through the wall. When the gavel cracked, the courtroom erupted. Quiet cheers, neighbors hugging, a few people clapping Ben on the back. Karen stood slowly, smoothed her suit like it would fix anything, and walked out without a word. Her boy's lawyer trailed behind, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. I stayed behind long enough to thank Judge Hayes. She gave me a small nod. "Go get those chains off, Mr. Morrison. Your little girl needs to see the other side of that creek." Outside, the sun was high and bright. I climbed into my truck, started the engine, and for the first time in 8 endless days, I let myself breathe. Tomorrow at noon those chains were coming down. And Karen Blackwell's reign of terror. It had just hit its expiration date. The next morning, Tuesday, 11:30 sharp. I was already at the bridge with Ben Carter leaning against his old Ford pickup. Sheriff Greg Larson parked nearby with lights off, but ready, and what looked like half the valley gathered along the creek banks. Folks had brought lawn chairs, coffee thermoses, even a couple kids on bikes. Word had spread like wildfire after the hearing noon deadline. Chains coming down, no excuses. The air buzzed with quiet anticipation, like everyone was holding their breath for the same moment. Karen rolled in at 11:40, 10 minutes late, her white SUV kicking up dust. Her face was flushed red, eyes puffy like she hadn't slept. She stepped out in yesterday's power suit, wrinkled now, carrying herself like someone marching to their own execution. In the back of her vehicle, visible through the open hatch, sat a brand new pair of heavy-duty bolt cutters still in the plastic wrap. She didn't say a word at first, just stood there gripping her keys so tight her knuckles blanched. Sheriff Larson walked forward, court order in hand, voice calm and official. Ms. Blackwell, pursuant to Judge Hayes's emergency ruling issued yesterday, you are directed to remove all obstructions from the bridge located on private property owned by Jacob Morrison. Failure to comply will result in contempt proceedings. He read the full text slowly, every word landing like a hammer strike. The crowd went dead quiet. Karen's chin trembled. She shook her head once, sharp. I'm not handing over the key. This is still an HOA matter. The bridge. Larson didn't let her finish. He glanced at me, then at her SUV. Mom, the court order doesn't require your cooperation, just results. He walked straight to the open hatch, lifted the bolt cutters out like they weighed nothing, and carried them to the bridge. Karen's mouth opened in a silent gasp. She actually took a half step forward, then froze. The sheriff positioned the jaws around the first thick link. One hard squeeze, metal screeched, then snapped. The chain parted with a heavy clank and slithered to the gravel. He moved to the next section, then the padlock itself. Another crunch. The lock popped open, useless now. Chain after chain hit the ground until the last coil landed in a tangled heap at Karen's feet. She stood there, shaking, eyes glassy, watching in stunned silence as the sheriff handed the cutters back to her without a word. The second the final piece fell, the valley erupted. Cheers rolled across the creek, deep whoops from the men, high-pitched whistles, kids yelling, "Yes!" Cars that had been idling on both sides started moving. A delivery van crossed first, horn honking in celebration. Then Tom's pickup, the guy with the boys' interview. He leaned out the window and shouted, "Thank you, Jake." Sarah's minivan followed, her baby waving a tiny fist from the car seat. Mia burst out of our front door like a shot, insulin bag swinging from her shoulder, laughing so hard she almost tripped. Lauren ran right behind her, tears already streaming. My little girl hit the bridge at a full sprint, sneakers pounding the weathered planks Grandpa had laid 60 some years ago. She stopped in the middle, spun in a circle with arms wide, yelling, "Daddy, it's open." Lauren caught up, scooped her into a hug, and they both turned to look at me. I stood there on the bank, throat tight, vision blurring. Tears, real tears, slid down my face for the first time since Dad's funeral, not from sadness, from pure, bone-deep relief. The bridge wasn't just wood and nails anymore. It was freedom. It was Mia safe. It was us breathing again. But the fight wasn't finished. Full trial was set for 6 weeks out. Plenty of time for damages to be argued, for the HOA to face the music on the bigger claims. Karen spent every one of those days trying to claw back control. She spread rumors I'd faked the video with some fancy editing app. She cornered neighbors in driveways, offering cash under the table if they'd remember seeing me tamper with the camera. She even printed flyers, anonymous of course, claiming the trail cam was an invasion of privacy and I was the real bully. It backfired spectacularly. 3 board members, Ellen, Paul, and a woman named Carla who'd stayed silent too long, resigned in a group email that copied the whole valley. Their attached sworn affidavits were brutal. Karen had acted alone, forged meeting minutes to fake board approval, deleted emails that showed dissent, and pressured them into silence with threats of personal lawsuits. Ellen's statement ended with one killer line: "I will no longer enable harassment disguised as governance." The day before trial, my phone rang at 8:30 in the evening. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. "Jake, it's Tom Blackwell, Karen's husband." His voice was gravelly, exhausted, like a man who'd carried too much for too long. "I'm sorry. For all of it. She's been obsessed with this valley since your grandfather told her father no back in the 80s. He wouldn't sell that ridge parcel. Said it would ruin the creek. She never let it go. This bridge thing, it was revenge dressed up as HOA business. Never about safety. Never about the community." He paused, breathing heavy. "I'll testify tomorrow if you need me. Under oath. Everything. The developer calls she took in secret, the forged minutes, the grudge. If it ends this nightmare for your family, and for the rest of us, then I'm in." I sat down hard on the porch step. "You're serious?" "Dead serious. I've lived with this poison too long. I want it out." I thanked him, hung up, and walked straight to Ben's place. He opened the door in sweatpants, saw my face, and grinned like a wolf spotting dinner. "What have we got?" "Karen's husband. Willing to testify against her. Full confession." Ben's eyes lit up. "Holy hell, Jake. We just got handed the nuclear option. Tomorrow she doesn't just lose, she implodes." I walked home under the stars, the open bridge humming with late night traffic in the distance. For the first time in weeks, I slept through the night. No alarms, no nightmares, just the soft rush of Pine Creek carrying everything away. Trial day was coming, and Karen Blackwell's house of cards was about to collapse under its own weight. Trial day arrived like a storm that had been building for weeks. The Fernwood County Courthouse was packed tighter than I'd ever seen it. Standing room only, people lining the walls, spilling into the hallway. Neighbors I hadn't spoken to in years, squeezed onto benches next to strangers who'd driven in from Boise just to watch. The air smelled of fresh coffee from someone's thermos and the faint, musty scent of old wood paneling. Everyone knew this wasn't just about a bridge anymore. It was about whether one woman's ego could keep holding an entire valley hostage. Karen sat at the defense table looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. No power suit today, just a plain gray blazer, hair pulled back tight. Hands folded in her lap like she was trying to disappear. Her boy's lawyer fidgeted beside her, flipping through papers he'd clearly read 100 times already. When she glanced my way for half a second, her eyes were dull, defeated. For the first time, the clipboard queen looked human and scared. Judge Hayes called the case right at 9. No preamble. Ben stood first and walked me through my testimony. I took the stand, swore the oath, and started from the beginning. I told them about waking to the horns and the chains, about Grandpa's 1953 bridge that kept our family connected to the world. I described the 8 days of lockdown, the panic in the valley, the spray, painted mailbox, the petition against me. Most of all, I talked about Mia. I handed the judge her medical records, glucose logs showing dangerous dips, notes from the endocrinologist about rationing insulin, the frantic video call visit we'd had to make because we couldn't cross 20 miles to the hospital. My voice cracked once when I said, "She's only 8. She shouldn't have to worry about whether she'll get the medicine that keeps her alive." The courtroom went so quiet, I could hear my own heartbeat. Ben played the trail cam video on the big screen. There was Karen again, 3:15 a.m., neon jacket glowing, wrapping chains like she was decorating for a parade. A low murmur rippled through the crowd. Judge Hayes's face hardened line by line as the clip ran. Then Ben called his surprise witness. The defense calls Thomas Blackwell. Karen's husband, Tom, walked to the stand looking like he hadn't slept in days. Gray stubble, rumpled shirt, eyes red-rimmed. He didn't look at Karen once. Under Ben's gentle questions, he laid it all bare. He explained the grudge went back to the 80s. Karen's father had wanted to buy the ridge land from my grandfather to develop it. Big plans for vacation cabins, a private road. Grandpa refused flat out. That land stays wild. The creek stays clean. Karen never forgave the rejection. When the new subdivision formed the HOA, she saw her chance. The bridge wasn't unsafe. It was in the way of her vision. A luxury development with a toll access fee to offset maintenance. She'd been quietly meeting with developers for months. Tom's voice stayed steady, but every word cut deeper. She forged meeting minutes to make it look like the board approved the lockdown, deleted emails showing dissent, told me it was just temporary, that once the bridge was common area, she could force a sale or easement. He paused, swallowed hard. I should have stopped her sooner. I'm sorry, Jake. To you, to Mia, to everyone. Karen's face went chalk white. When Ben projected the 1953 deed side by side with her nighttime video, two images split on the screen. She actually froze, mouth slightly open, eyes wide and unblinking, like her brain had short-circuited. The woman who'd sneered, "Save it for court," now couldn't form a single word. Her lawyer tried a weak cross-examination, but Tom didn't waver. Judge Hayes cut it short. She didn't need a jury for this one. Small claims in Idaho allows the judge to decide. She leaned forward, voice clear and final. After reviewing the evidence, the original deed, the survey, the handwritten family note, the certified title history, the video footage, sworn affidavits from former board members, and the testimony we've just heard, this court finds the following. The bridge is and has always been private property of the Morrison family. The HOA's closure was unauthorized, illegal, and constituted trespass, nuisance, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. All fines imposed are voided and stricken from record. The defendant HOA is ordered to pay the plaintiff $25,000 in compensatory and punitive damages, plus full reimbursement of legal fees and court costs. A permanent injunction is hereby issued. The Fernwood Valley HOA, its officers, agents, and successors are forever barred from interfering with, obstructing, or claiming any interest in the subject bridge without a valid court order. The gavel cracked like thunder. Karen didn't move. She just sat there, stunned, while the courtroom exploded into quiet, respectful applause. Neighbors hugged. Someone in the back whispered, "About damn time." Ben clapped me on the shoulder so hard I nearly stumbled. As people filed out, I caught Karen's eye one last time. She looked broken. Not angry, not defiant, just empty. Her lawyer helped her stand, and they left without a word. That night, the remaining board members called an emergency meeting via Zoom, because no one wanted to be in the same room with her legacy. They voted unanimously to remove Karen as president and expel her from the board, effective immediately. She resigned the next morning in a one-line email. "I am stepping down for personal reasons." The valley exhaled. I drove home that evening with the windows down, the smell of pine rushing in. Mia was waiting on the porch, waving like crazy. Lauren pulled me into a hug that lasted forever. We walked across the bridge together, just because we could, and stood in the middle while the creek sang below us. The chains were gone. The fear was gone. And for the first time in a long time, everything felt right again. Karen's empire hadn't just crumbled. It had been dismantled, piece by piece, by the very truth she tried to bury, and the bridge, it stood stronger than ever. The chains never went back up, not one link. The morning after the trial, a crew of volunteers, neighbors who'd watched the whole saga unfold, showed up with gloves and coffee. They hauled away every scrap of yellow caution tape, every twisted piece of chain, even the laminated sign Karen had bolted to the railing. They didn't ask permission, they just did it. By noon, the bridge looked like it always had: weathered planks, sturdy railings, the creek rushing underneath like nothing had ever happened. Grandpa would have been proud. The HOA didn't vanish. They couldn't, not legally. But it transformed overnight. The remaining board members called a special election the very next week. No more self-appointed presidents. No more emergency actions without a full vote and 24-hour notice. Ellen Rees stepped up as interim president, and with Paul and Carla by her side, they rewrote the bylaws from scratch. Key changes: term limits for officers, mandatory open meetings with recorded minutes, a grievance committee anyone could join, and a strict rule that no fines could be issued without documented evidence and an appeal process. They even added a clause prohibiting any claim on private structures without a court order. The new covenants passed unanimously. Then came the refunds. Every single fine the old regime had slapped on Valley residents: trash can violations, visible tools, landscaping warnings, special assessments, got mailed back with interest. Checks arrived in plain envelopes, no fanfare. One neighbor told me his was for $875. He framed it next to a photo of the open bridge. The HOA's bank account took a hit, but nobody complained. Transparency became the new normal. Financial reports went online monthly. Whispers of developer deals gone. The ridge land stayed wild. Maya's life snapped back into rhythm like a rubber band released. Her endocrinologist appointments resumed the following week. No more rationing, no more frantic video calls. Lauren drove her across the bridge every Thursday like clockwork, and every time Mia would roll down the window and yell, "We're free!" just to hear her voice echo off the pines. Her numbers stabilized. The doctor even joked at the next visit, "Looks like the creek crossing was the best medicine." Lauren and I started a little ritual. Every Sunday afternoon we'd walk Mia across the bridge hand in hand, no destination, just because we could. Sometimes we'd stop in the middle and listen to the water, feeling the planks creak under our feet. The same creak Grandpa must have heard 1,000 times. The community healed in ways I hadn't expected. Bridge-side barbecues became a Saturday tradition. Someone dragged out a portable grill, another brought folding tables, and suddenly the creek bank was alive with laughter, smoke, and kids chasing fireflies. People who'd avoided eye contact for months now swapped stories, shared recipes, asked about jobs and grandkids. Tom, the guy with the boys' interview, landed the job and bought everyone beers one weekend. Sarah's baby took her first steps right there on the gravel, cheered on by a crowd that felt like family again. The valley wasn't perfect, but it was whole. The fracture Karen had carved started knitting itself back together, plank by plank. 6 months after the trial, a for sale sign appeared in Karen's front yard. The house sold fast. Cash buyer from out of state. She packed up quietly one weekend. I only knew because the moving truck blocked the road for an hour. No goodbye, no apology. Last I heard through the grapevine, she'd relocated to some gated community outside Tucson, Arizona. Within a year, she'd wormed her way onto the HOA board there and tried pulling the same playbook: retroactive rules, surprise fines, power grabs. The residents there were quicker on the draw. They had bylaws with teeth, a lawyer on retainer, and zero patience. She got voted out in a special meeting, slapped with a cease and desist, and faded into obscurity. Poetic justice doesn't always wear a cape. Sometimes it just shows up with better paperwork. I kept those cut chains coiled in the corner of my shop, right next to the workbench. They're rusted now, a little bent from the sheriff's bolt cutters, but I never toss them. Every time I glance over while wrenching on an engine or sharpening a blade, they catch the light and remind me paper beats power. A 70-year-old deed, a trail cam clip, a handful of honest neighbors, and one exhausted husband's conscience. That's all it took to bring down a bully who thought a clipboard made her untouchable. The bridge still stands, stronger for the fight it survived. Cars cross it every day without a second thought. Kids bike over it. Deer wander beneath it at dusk. And every so often, when the sun hits the water just right, I walk out to the middle, lean on the railing Grandpa built, and feel the quiet victory settle in my chest. We didn't just win our bridge back. We won our valley back, our peace, our ability to breathe without looking over our shoulders. And that, more than any check or court order, was worth every sleepless night. Looking back, those 8 days of chains and fear feel both impossibly short and endless at the same time. 8 days of holding my breath, of watching Maya's monitor beep warnings, of wondering if we'd ever cross that creek again without permission. It felt like a lifetime squeezed into a week. But in the end, it taught me something I'll carry forever: the loudest voices. The ones barking orders, slapping fines, waving clipboards like weapons, aren't always the strongest. Sometimes the quietest things win. A 70-year-old deed yellowed at the edges, a grainy trail, cam clip captured at 3 in the morning. A handful of neighbors who finally said, "Enough," and one exhausted husband who chose truth over loyalty. My grandfather didn't build that bridge just to get his truck across the creek. He built it to connect people, to make sure no one in Fernwood Valley ever felt cut off, isolated, or alone. Karen tried to twist that same bridge into a tool of division, a barrier she could control, a way to punish old grudges and chase new profits. She thought power came from fear and fines. She was wrong. The truth, simple, stubborn, documented truth, set the whole valley free. These days Mia treats the bridge like her personal racetrack. Every chance she gets, she sprints across it, arms pumping, ponytail flying, laughing so loud it echoes off the pines. "Watch me, Daddy!" she yells, and I do, every single time. Lauren and I have started a quiet habit. Some evenings we sit on the porch with mugs of coffee, legs stretched out, just watching cars cross without hesitation. Delivery vans, neighbors heading to town, kids on bikes. Normal life flowing again. We don't say much in those moments. We don't need to. The simple sight of that open bridge says everything we ever needed to hear. If this story lit a fire under you, if it made you nod and think, "Yeah, I've been there," do me a favor. Smash that like button, hit subscribe to HOA Gone Wild so you never miss another real life takedown, and drop a comment right now. Have you ever gone toe to toe with your own hoe? What happened? And while you're typing, tell me, where are you watching from today? Stay vigilant out there, folks. Keep your deeds close, your cameras ready, and your neighbors closer. Your bridge might be next. This is Jake Morrison, signing off from Fernwood Valley, Idaho. See you in the next one.